We've never encountered such enemies. Strong, tenacious, fanatical fighters. The diary of a German soldier has shaken the world. It's an account of his encounter and battle with the Americans during the Battle of the Bulge. We'll take a detailed look at what happened and what the consequences were. Support the channel by subscribing, commenting, and sharing this video. This topic is too serious to ignore. They came out of the fog, out of the white, thick, freezing air where you could not see the road nor the face of the man beside you. At first, we thought they were our scouts returning. But as the shadows moved closer, it became clear. They were not ours. Americans. Advancing at the very moment when nature itself seemed against them. That is how a diary entry of a German corporal begins. A voice from the front, found decades later. There is no hatred in his words, no rage, only confusion, and a reluctant respect for an enemy he never expected to meet like this. The Battle of the Ardennes was Germany's final desperate attempt to change the course of the war. Surprise was the plan. Snow, frost, and mountain passes, the perfect conditions for a counter-offensive. But this diary tells another story, not victory, not glory, but the slow, painful realization that the enemy they had called weak and inexperienced was something else entirely, strong, relentless, fanatical, and the most frightening thing, unpredictable. Today we will walk through the pages of that diary together. We will hear the voice of a man who faced the Americans and understood. This was a new kind of army. We will learn why the Germans began to lose battle after battle despite their experience and discipline. And most importantly, how the Americans managed to turn the tide, not with technology, but with something far more dangerous, determination. It all begins in silence. A frozen night, the scent of diesel and tobacco drifting through the forest. German tanks hidden under tarps, soldiers warming their hands above smoking stoves. The corporal writes, "We were certain the Americans would not endure the cold. They were men of comfort, of canned food and cigarettes. We expected them to freeze. But in the morning, jeeps emerged from the fog. They came straight at us. At first, no one believed it. It seemed a mistake, a small raid. But behind the first vehicles came more, an entire column. And the strangest thing, they did not stop even under fire. Bullets struck the armor, shrapnel tore the snow apart, yet they moved forward. They walked as men who knew they would die, but went on because that was their duty, he wrote. The first clash was brief. German artillery opened fire. The Americans pulled back, not in panic, but with precision. Half an hour later, the field was empty. And then, the second strike from a new direction. Sherman tanks rolled in under cover of bombers. It looked as if someone invisible was conducting an orchestra. We were used to Soviet assaults, massive, chaotic, brutal, the corporal notes, but these men fought differently. They struck like a surgeon, straight at the weak point. He describes how, within a single day, the Americans withdrew twice and attacked 3 times, each time from another angle, as if they could feel the terrain, the wind, even our breath. Then the snow began to fall, heavy, muffling, endless. The world turned white and soundless. But the Americans did not stop. They advanced in coordination with their artillery and air force. Every cannon blast matched a bomber strike. The sky and the earth worked as one, he wrote. It was a new kind of war. Not chaos, but precision. Not blind obedience, but distributed thought. The Germans, long proud of their rigid command structure, were stunned to see the enemy act horizontally, each squad operating as a self-contained machine. Every sergeant thought like a commander. Every gunner knew when and where the next strike would fall. It was terrifying. They did not shout. They did not charge with flags. They advanced silently, faces covered with dirt, helmets dull and unshining, steps measured and calm, as if walking not to death, but to work. The Germans began calling them ghosts of the fog. We hit them with mortars, the diary says, but they kept coming back, like water finding every crack. We lost count of their attacks. Here the tone of the diary begins to change. Pride gives way to unease. The fear is not of weapons, but of something deeper, the enemy's indifference to pain. They do not scream when wounded. They simply fall and wait. Their comrades keep moving. Explanations spread through the German trenches. Some said the Americans fought under drugs, others said they were terrified of their officers. But the truth was simpler. These men were not here for glory. They were here to end the war. They knew that every step forward brought them closer to home. That knowledge made them unstoppable. One entry describes the corporal's platoon being pushed back and caught in crossfire. We heard their voices, short, calm commands. They spoke as if each second was rehearsed. We fired, but the smoke swallowed our bullets. Then came the roar from above. We lay flat on the frozen ground and understood. It was over. The air, that was the final horror. The Luftwaffe was gone. The sky now belonged to the enemy. At first, there was only a hum. Then snow fell mixed with ash. Whole companies disappeared under a carpet of explosions. And it all happened with emotionless precision. The diary's most chilling scene comes from a night attack. We thought they would not fight in darkness, but they lit the heavens. Hundreds of flares turned night into day. They knew every one of our positions. They moved according to maps drawn in advance. We did not even have time to understand where the fire came from. Then came what he called the breaking of silence. The German order began to crumble. Soldiers argued with officers. Officers defied command. Where there once was clarity, now there was confusion. The enemy fought by rules that no longer fit the old world. The Americans began using deception. They left loudspeakers broadcasting the noise of battles elsewhere. Germans rushed toward the sound, thinking the main fight was there, and walked straight into ambushes. They played with us like hunters with prey, the diary says. We no longer knew where the front was. Gradually, the corporal's tone turns inward. He no longer writes we. He writes they. His words become a confession. They are stronger not only in body, but in mind. They can wait. They are not proud. They simply do their job. He recalls watching an American through binoculars during a lull in fighting. The man sat on a tank, eating from a tin, calm and unbothered. I realized he did not think of glory. He just wanted to survive the day. We still thought of the Reich. Then comes the climax. The Germans are surrounded. The corporal describes the remnants of the battalion retreating through the forest. Snow, blood, shattered engines. Radio silent. And then the steady hum again, the sound of their tanks. We knew that sound. It was a verdict. Their tanks moved smoothly, without haste. Not one broke formation. He writes, I hid behind a tree and watched them advance. We could no longer shoot. We just watched. I saw resolve in their faces, but no joy. They were not celebrating. For them it was work, hard, necessary work. I understood we had lost long before this moment. These final pages carry something more than defeat. They record the death of an era. The old war of honor and uniforms was gone. A new war had arrived, rational, mechanical, emotionless, and the Americans became its symbol. When we retreated, I saw them helping our wounded, he wrote. They gave them water, bandaged their wounds. I did not understand why. We were their enemies. But perhaps that is why they won. They did not hate. They simply moved forward. The Ardennes offensive, conceived as Germany's last hope, became a mirror. In it, the Germans saw the future. An army where every rifle was part of one thought, every tank and plane an extension of one mind. Where victory was not a roar, but a silence. Historians would later say that the Ardennes decided not a front, but an era. Germany could still fight, but it could no longer win. Because facing it was not just an army, but a philosophy, technical, disciplined, yet free in its execution. The diary was found years later in a ruined house. Its yellowed pages smelled of smoke and damp earth. But the words still sound like a warning. We had never faced such enemies. They were not like us. And perhaps that is why they lived, and we did not. What made the Americans so formidable? Not only their weapons or machines. It was their inner structure, their faith in a system where every piece knew its place, their ability to act together without waiting for orders. They were men, but in battle they became a single mechanism, built for victory. It is the harsh truth of war. The winner is not the one who hates more, but the one who calculates better. Not the one who shouts louder, but the one who works quieter. And in that, the Americans were masters. Their coordination, their cold determination, and their quiet belief in the mission were weapons stronger than steel. The corporal ends his diary with a line that reads like an epitaph to an age. We were proud of knowing how to fight. They were proud of knowing how to win. And perhaps that is the border between the old world and the new, between honor and efficiency, between pride and result. Thus ends the story of two armies, two worlds, two philosophies. In the snow of the Ardennes, men of the past met men of the future, and those who spoke less prevailed. Tell me, friends, what do you think? What is more terrifying? The fanatic who feels no fear, or the discipline that knows no doubt?